to us what libertarian is.
I hear that all the time. Let me tell you what libertarian is. Libertarian is someone who says you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. Just don't force others to be like you.
Got it.
That's what we are all about. We are all about long-term solutions, not short-term solutions. We're all about changing culture, not just changing law. Law, we have to remember something. At the end of almost every single law is a guy or a gal with a gun who will put you in a cage. And if you don't want to go in that cage, he or she is going to kill you. That means you only use law when it really matters, not just because I'm angry, not because I don't like you, not because you should do some activity I think you shouldn't do or whatever the case may be. It's only for important things like life and liberty and property and things like that. That's when you use violence. That's when you use force. That's what libertarians are all about. Welcome to Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live. The brand is strong, as it always is. It's 3 p.m. That's our coffee time, 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. And whatever it is throughout the world, that means I'm sitting here talking and yapping to you about libertarians. And yes, I do it all the time because I'm supposed to. Look, I know that there's absolutely a presidential election this year, and we should care and we should support Joe Jorgensen. Absolutely. And on top of that, there are hundreds of local libertarians running throughout the country, also trying to make impact in their own local areas, in their own states and counties and cities. So let's make sure we also support them. How do we do that? By liking, commenting, and sharing whenever you see them on, like now. So go ahead, like, comment, share. Let people know that this is important. Let people know this is going on so that people can see it and realize that there are options for a lot of us out there throughout the country. I am very lucky today. I have someone here who I'm very happy that I have her here. I have someone here who is running in Colorado. The one, the only, Hanna, help me pronounce the last name.
Waugh.
Waugh, so easy. Waugh, oh my God, Hanna Waugh is here. I'm so happy you're here. How are you, Hanna?
I'm good. How are you, Larry?
I'm doing great. Look, someone like you, who's out there trying to make something happen and trying to make impact. You and I talked before about your own community you care about. Why did you choose this race? Why did you choose now as a way of making impact?
I mean, it's a big year. 2020 is a big year for all of us. And as I'm running in a small community, I saw that the more government we had in our community, it was hurting us. Right. It was really damaging for our small local economy. And I want to retain the unique character that Lake County has without selling ourselves out to the highest government bidder. And just.
So you're actually running for a Lake County commissioner?
Correct. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Tell me what that is.
So commissioners are kind of an extent of the state government. They're there to make sure that the state governments are kind of enacted in all the communities. Okay. It's not always for the best. It doesn't always benefit us. And I, like to see our community standing up and saying, okay, we recognize that the state says that we have an opinion in this. But this is what we want to do. This is what's best for us.
So you thought this is a good way for you to be a buffer between your community and the state?
Correct.
I love the idea. So now the state can do what it wants. You now can be that buffer and help make things work better locally for your community. And you're the voice for your local community.
Correct. And that's the goal.
I love that. Now, you've told me you don't live in a big city, right?
No, I live in a very small community. Lake County has one town in it, the highest incorporated city in the United States.
Look at that.
Yeah, so 10,200 feet above sea level. As of 2018, we had about 9,000 people in all of Lake County.
Got it. That's about half of what we have in 1 square mile of New York City.
Exactly.
Give or take.
We're little.
Yes.
We're little. But
so in a place like that, what are your, you could probably talk for hours on issues, but kind of what are your top 3 issues that you think, kind of flew to the top for you?
My top 3 issues are, I think every libertarian says this: lowering taxes, our economic development, and then the transparency of our local leaders.
So you said local taxes, economic development, and transparency.
Correct.
I hear economic development often. And people who tell me that very often start with lower taxes the same way you did. It's funny. That's very common as someone says, lower taxes, economic development, they tend to go right together. So let me ask you, is that kind of the same with you?
It is. I think it is because it's a hand-holding relationship, especially in the state of Colorado with our Gallagher Amendment.
Tell me what that is. What's a Gallagher Amendment?
So the Gallagher Amendment was passed, I believe, in 1984, and it was a way of simplifying property taxes.
Ah, okay. So the goal was supposed to be something good.
It was, and it is something good. It put the burden of property taxes at about 45% for residential owners and 55% for business owners. Mm-hmm. And right now, the Colorado Senate has decided to put the Gallagher Amendment back on the ballot to have it overturned this year.
Oh.
Which, it's not great. It's not great. It's going to raise property taxes for homeowners again.
Got it.
And in Lake County especially, we have some of the highest property taxes in the state.
Got it. So you think that if they get rid of it, the local community is going to shift and make it like 80-20 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And it's going to hammer the property taxes.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of people who are already living on a fixed income and will have to choose between, hey, I can pay my property taxes, or there goes food or medication for the next few months.
Okay. Got it. All right. So I love that idea. You want to lower taxes. Is it only property tax you're concerned about, or is that your biggest one, or are there other pieces you're concerned about too?
The biggest one I'm concerned about is our property taxes. We had about a 50% increase in our property taxes a few years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It hurt.
That is lifestyle changing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That changes the lifestyle, of people in your community with that kind of massive raising. Wow. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. It's, it hurts. It hurts to see. And it makes it more difficult, especially since the average income in Lake County is about $46,000.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, you've got a $46,000 income that's already taxed by the government about 24%. But hey, let's throw in an additional, $2,000 in property taxes.
Right.
It would be about $2,000 if the Gallagher Amendment's repealed. It sits at about $13,000 or $1,300 right now.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, so you're going to hear it, right? It's the common thing. Hanna, if you get rid of the property tax, the lower property taxes, where's that money going to come from? Right now, we're not going to have roads, right? Or we're not going to have schools, or you're going to hear that, right? So what do you say when someone says that? You're not going to have roads and schools. You want us all to die.
And that's definitely not true. I think the first thing that we have to look at is the salaries of our local elected officials. Mm-hmm. The salary for a county commissioner here in Lake County is $60,000 base. And then they're able to give themselves bonuses and things like that.
You get to vote your own bonus?
Yeah.
Oh, I want that job. I got the wrong job.
So I stand by it, and I propose a minimum of a 10% decrease for the elected officials. That's I can survive on far less than that. I am surviving on far less than that. It doesn't make sense that our elected officials are making so much more money than the average community member.
Okay.
So we propose a 10% pay cut for them.
So you're talking about a pay cut. Got it. You're not going to be a popular a politician within your own circles for sure for that one, right? Okay. So are there other things, or is that really the main one?
I think that's the main one, but we also need to take a look at the programs that our county is investing in and what we're going after. We're currently looking at building a new justice center, which is a requirement by the state. You have to have a justice center and a jail in your town. However, the things is we're trying to go into eminent domain with Union Pacific. And that's a waste of money right now.
Yep.
So how does that benefit
the state's forcing us, so we're going to take your land. Absolutely.
Going against a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company. It doesn't benefit the community.
Got it. Okay.
I'd rather trim the, poor teaching and not poor teaching, but poor management of money and the ridiculously high salaries that some of these people have, and put that money back into, reducing property taxes and making sure that our roads and our schools are functioning at a high level.
So I got the tax piece. Take me down to the economic development piece. This, for a lot of people, particularly locally, can be tough because I know a lot of times the economic development is somehow stifled, like you just talking now with eminent domain, by state and or federal regulations, right? So many times the local community, as it tries to grow itself, struggles because it's being, there's strings attached, right, from the state and the federal. Do you have that situation with you, or is this not the same with you?
So we do have that, and it's a struggle. And, I'm hesitant sometimes about this because I want to make sure our small community, we have a lot of very unique things behind it. We've got a lot of great history, but we don't want to be sold out and become one of the resort towns that surround us.
Right. So your community does not want to become that.
No.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
We want to really focus on saying, hey, over 60% of our workforce travels 30 plus minutes to get to work in one of these resort towns. Mm-hmm. Why don't we retain our workforce here and make sure that they have sustainable jobs in this county? But some of the problems are people who are building long-term housing, people who are building businesses are running into issues where our local government is pushing them down. Either saying
local government doesn't want it. Pardon? I'm sorry. You're saying the local government is stopping them from building new businesses?
Businesses and long-term housing.
Got it. Okay.
So that runs into a lot of issues, and people can't see sustainable life up here when the government's telling them no.
So let me ask you, when it comes to local, is the local issues that you're dealing with in this case for building new businesses and housing, are most of them building issues or professional license issues or insurance issues or a combination of them all? Like what we find in New York State, and this is why I'm bringing this up, in New York State, one of the things that hurts us, particularly in our cities, is building codes are so insane that it's very hard to get things actually physically built. And then licensing is so tough, it's difficult to get the required licenses to have the professionals even there to do the work, whatever work you want to be done. Yeah,
it's a combination of all three, especially since this town has been around since, goodness, I can't remember the exact date, the early 1800s. Okay. A lot of our buildings are older. They're the saloon styles. Okay. And then you have to be grandfathered in, but your electrical is still an issue. How are you going to run a proper business when we're telling you have to have, things up to fire code, but you also have to destroy the building to put up things for fire code?
Oh, got it. I see. Okay. Got it. So you have a lot of building issues. I get it. Okay. So how does someone like you then make that easy? Obviously, you can't just change the law, right? That's not something you can do. But how do you help?
I think the honest thing to do is have more conversations with our businesses and support them. I've seen our city do a great job at it. I haven't seen our community or our county leaders doing a fantastic job at reaching out. And they have other things on their plate, but at the same time, it's inexcusable that we are pushing off locals who want to start their own businesses and making it harder for them to support the town and support the county.
Okay. So now that's your economic. I got that. You supporting them, working through the building codes and issues like that, dealing with the older buildings, right? What we have in New York State, in New York City at least, New York State, I believe it's throughout New York State, is that they have landmarking buildings. That's what we have. Mm-hmm. You landmark a building. I'm assuming other states have something similar, if not the same thing. And then that means it can stay old, but we've got special ways of making it new. So we do that kind of thing, right? So let me ask, that's with that piece, how do you deal with transparency, and why is that an issue?
So there's been, at least in my beliefs, I see a lot of issues with transparency. We see a lot of people who say one thing, and then when it comes down to voting, they do the exact opposite.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
And with that being said, we're not transparent about where our money's going. We're not transparent about the errors that we make when we are doing things for our local government.
Right.
And I get it. Nobody wants to own up and say, hey, I've made a mistake. Or, hey, my beliefs have changed.
Right.
But we have to be more honest with our community. We have to say,
does that mean that you think right now in your community that there is a lack of trust with the people for the leadership? And that's what I often hear. When people talk about transparency, very often there's a worry that these guys or gals, they aren't doing the right thing, or they're hiding something, or they're being influenced by somebody that we don't know, or any of those things. Is that happening in your community too?
It is. It is at a high level. And it's disappointing to see. And I think it's hard because a lot of us see it's a small town. We know everybody.
Right.
And it's hard when all of a sudden you think you know somebody and then they change without an explanation. And I think that's burned a lot of bridges. We aren't being upfront and honest about what we're doing. And that's something that we need to demand from all of our politicians.
Sure. I love that idea. That's a lot of stuff you want to achieve. I love that. Let me go to something that's kind of a bigger picture, but also local, right? But bigger picture. What's been hitting us this year? The COVID response, right? Do you have a view either way on what happened for the COVID response, either locally or nationally or anything in between?
So I can respect that we have a disease that we don't know a lot about right now, and things are changing constantly. My concern, I've seen across the board is that businesses are not able to function, and we're suddenly deeming who's essential and who's not. Everyone's job is essential to them. And I highly disagree that Colorado took the measure of saying, oh, if you're essential, you can go to work. If you're an essential business. I disagree with that completely, because your job is essential to you. We saw a very high number of layoffs and unfortunately a very high number of unemployment, especially here in our county, because we thrive on the tourism industry.
Sure.
And
they decided tourism wasn't essential, so bye.
It wasn't. There was a number that came out today that ski areas lost $2 billion by having to close down 2 months early here.
What is that?
So our ski areas. So if you think about any of the large resorts here that surround Lake County, so like Vail Mountain, Beaver Creek.
The resort towns, that's what you mean by ski areas. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And 60% of our workforce goes and works in the tourism industry over there.
Wow. Big hit. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I spent a lot of time working with our food bank, and they went from serving about 250 people a month to serving 300 people in a day. That
is massive difference. How in the world could they even do that? That ramp up is insane. How does an organization ramp up like that? They must have been struggling like there's no tomorrow.
They were, and we're very fortunate. I was able to donate food. We had other libertarians here in the state of Colorado who made the drive up here to donate food to our food bank, collecting donations. We had local businesses and ski areas step up with the food they could no longer serve, and since they were closed down, and give it to our community. And that was amazing, but it doesn't bring back your job. Right,
sure. It's a good Band-Aid, but it's not a long-term solution. Absolutely, but I'm surprised that they could even ramp up. It's amazing, but what you just mentioned is the food bank. That worked well, but government didn't.
It was the locals coming together to support each other.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the biggest thing. And I think it shows that we need to put the responsibility back on each individual person's hands and not rely on the government.
Yep.
To tell us how we should be living our life full time.
100%. I say it all the time. When you remove government, you have to add community, right? People still need help, right? So you've got to make sure that happens. Absolutely. So let me go to the other big thing that's been happening, right? And that is the fallout from George Floyd. Do you have an opinion or view on that?
I believe for everyone it walks a hard line, because I am not a person of color, and I can identify that I'm not. I have not experienced the racism that they may have. I do believe that my community would benefit from moving more towards a restorative justice system, but I can't say. What I will say is our community has been coming together to support people of color. We do have a very heavy Hispanic population, and it is amazing to see our community coming together to support them. As well, there has been a lot of educational resources. So teaching people of the community, hey, just so you know, you may not be aware of this because we haven't experienced it up here. We live in a kind of secluded rural area, but our voices are just as important. And nobody's voice is more important than anyone else's. We've got to band together. I fully support the protests, all protests. You have that right in the Constitution. Go for it. If you want to protest, fine by me. But also making sure that everything is respectfully heard, I think, is the big thing for me.
Did you have a lot of protests in your area? Was your local area? From what I'm hearing, from what you're telling me, tell me if I'm wrong, there isn't a big Black population in your area. Is that true? That
is true. There's a small one, but there's not a very big number.
So were there protests in your area or no?
There were small protests. They're still doing every week or every night for the last week. They've done local get-togethers to inform people about Black culture, which is interesting to see. I am encouraged that people are willing to go and learn. I will say across the board, we have to recognize that as people come through all of this, we have to be willing to offer forgiveness and allow them to say, hey, these were my beliefs before. I've changed, and not shun everybody because of what you may have done 5 or 10 years ago.
Sure. No, it's funny that you bring up the idea of the cancel culture that a lot of people have had. They go, look, this guy said something 10 years ago, therefore he's invalid the rest of his life. When we have that kind of culture that, you invalidate someone for something they said, if the person still agrees with it and goes, yeah, I said that terrible thing 10 years ago and I stand by it, okay, I got it. That makes sense. But if someone says, I said that bad thing 10 years ago, and you know what, I don't believe that anymore. If we don't give that person a chance to change, we're not encouraging others to change. We're encouraging others to never change.
Exactly. And we're saying, we talk about it all the time. Okay, well, when you turn 18, if you have a criminal record, it's gone. Your grades don't matter once you leave high school. And then we're saying, hold on, everything that you've done, you don't get to have a future anymore.
Right.
We don't recognize that people can change and adapt. And I think that's one of the most disappointing things that I've seen from all of this is saying, hey, you've made one mistake. You don't get to move forward.
So let's shift now. It's a similar situation, but there's also the idea that you're a woman, and you mentioned that can be difficult in your community. That can be a difficult thing in your community, right? And certain communities do. They have in many communities, the government's run by men or all run by women or any combination of that. In my area in New York City, it's all run by Democrats. There's like 51 people on our city council, and like 2 are Republicans. It's something like that. It's like 49 Democrats and like 2, or some number like that, right? It's that way. And you also sometimes have it with people of color or not, gender, and then people judge you based upon gender, based upon ethnic background, based upon whatever. You were talking about that sometimes it can be difficult, you being judged as a woman.
I do. So we are fortunate up here in Lake County. Our chief of police for the city, as well as our sheriff for the county, are both women.
Nice.
And currently we have 3 county commissioners. 1 is a Republican, 2 are Democrats, and 2 are female.
Nice.
So we do have a lot of representation. I think one of the things we have to talk about, though, is especially for women, you sit there and I apologize for my beliefs all the time. I say I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. I do not believe in the red flag law. And people are like, well, why? And I say, well, I'm sorry. You've had your experiences. Here are mine. When I should never apologize for the things that I've experienced that make me believe in, gun rights.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And it's a hot topic. And if your opinions on it change, that's fine. But don't apologize for it. Own up that your feelings have changed and move forward.
You hear that often, right? There's almost a joke. It's like comedians talk about the idea of the woman always saying, I'm sorry, right? But very often the more popular comedians are actually talking about trends within our culture and society, right? That's why they become popular, because they're hitting a note that somebody cares about. And I think your points are very valid. I think far more women than men do it too, obviously, right? And not all women do it, right? It's a bell curve. But a lot more women are so quick to say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, where men are less likely to say that. I think it's true. And I think now society begins to judge you now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though society kind of expects you to do it and then judges you for it. It's kind of unfair, right?
Exactly. It is. And we're so used to saying, oh, I'm sorry for my opinions and my beliefs because they don't necessarily agree with yours. Mm-hmm. I don't apologize for my religion. I believe my religion because I believe in my religion.
Sure.
I don't apologize for how much money I make because I'm doing the work for that. You shouldn't have to apologize for living your life. Now, if your life is harming other people, yeah, you should probably apologize for it.
Yes.
To it.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to force you to have my beliefs because you don't agree with them.
Got it. Okay. So we have the worry of cancel culture. We have the COVID virus all over the place. Things are changing and shifting. How in the world can you make impact, right? What kind of race are you running? Is this a 3-person race, 2-person race, 4-person race?
So I'm running a 2-person race right now.
Nice.
My opponent is a Democrat, and I'm a libertarian, obviously. And I think, the lesson that I want to learn from this is no matter what, if I win or lose come November, I want to make sure that I'm still making an impact.
Okay.
Making sure that other people in this community feel like someone is fighting for their voice when their voice isn't heard. And whether that means that I have to attend every single meeting, fine, I'll be there. Maybe I only attend meetings where other people can't attend. Maybe it's just I'm on every Wednesday. We have a community coffee meeting. Maybe I'm on every Wednesday, and making sure that people feel like they're being heard, no matter what their background
but
is.
In a 2-person race, do you have an idea on in a 2-person race, what the anti-incumbent person usually gets as a percentage?
It can run very differently. If you look back at the election of 2016, Hillary Clinton won, but with about 60% of the vote. But I've also seen it go down to 49 and 51.
Okay. So there's a real opportunity for you to make impact here.
Yes, there is. And even no matter what the end outcome is for me, this community means more to me than most anything in my life. And I will fight to make sure that we get to have the best community that we've maintained for years.
I love that. Look, if you live in Lake County, head on over here to HannahForLakeCounty.com. And why don't you take some time to kind of check her out? And if you've got some spare cash and be in Lake County and you're not one of those people who lost your job because you weren't essential, hopefully you were essential. And if you got some extra cash, throw her some money, right? Again, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do. That's Facebook ads for her, right? That's door hangers for her. That's signs for her to wave, whatever the case may be. And if you're in Colorado and this matters to you, you can throw her some money. Or if you can't do money, no worries. Again, remember, she needs social media warriors. She needs people to make phone calls. She needs people to create content for her. She needs people to show up and do the sign waves. She needs all those cool things. So get over there. Check out her website. If you've got some cash to give, please give. If you've got some time to give, please give, particularly if you live in Lake County or anywhere in Colorado. You want your state to have more options and be more libertarian, and you want to make impact this year. Please head on over there and support her to the best of your ability. So I got to go to the next question, which is, there's a lot of fear out there.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of COVID, fear of Biden's going to kill us, Trump's going to kill us, the Chinese are going to kill us, right? Somebody's going to kill us and get us and destroy us, right? There's fear everywhere. How does someone like you get around that fear? How do you get around that fear? Is it possible? How do you do it?
I think it is possible. I think that you have to sit and think about what you think is more important to you. If you're comfortable sitting at home and saying, I don't want to leave the house right now because I'm afraid of COVID, that's fine. Recognize that. Also recognize that you may be missing out on things. If you want to go in public and wear a mask, I have utmost respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
I wear a mask out of respect for other people when I go into large gathering spaces.
Yep.
But I think we have to move past this kind of fear of, or I shouldn't say the fear of, but the fear of fear. You know,
there's a fear.
Being afraid.
Yes, I agree. And the issue is, I think you find that a lot of people are afraid of many different things. Some people have COVID, absolutely, but some of whoever the other is in their world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that other, if they're a Democrat, they're afraid of Republicans. They're Republicans, they're afraid of Democrats, right? Whatever. They're afraid of what the other is. So I can't hang out with Hannah because my guy or my gal has got to be the one because the other person is going to make sure we all die or destroy our country or destroy my community or destroy the world or whatever, right? Or if Hannah doesn't have the right view on COVID, then we're all going to die, right? Or whatever. I guess my question is, how do you get someone to hear you? Past the fear, right? Past the fear.
I think the ultimate thing, and I base everything back to this, is we don't have to agree, but let's sit down and have a conversation. Tell me why you're afraid. Tell me what in your life has made you afraid of this. And let me share with you my experience of why I may or may not be afraid of other things.
Got it.
Let's have these open conversations. And I'm not saying to shut out the media. We can't do it. We can't shut out every bit of social media and the news. It's pumped into us 24/7.
Right.
But what I'm saying is make sure you come to your own decisions and then respect that somebody else is going to have differing, visions than you. Right. And that's fine. I can't change your mind on what you're afraid of. Just like you can't change your mind on what I'm afraid of.
So you're more concerned about having just the conversation and being in a smaller town, you're able to have those. I mean, you're able to actually have those. I like that. So you're just basically saying, look, I get you're afraid. I'm afraid too. Here's what I'm afraid of. This is what you're afraid of. Let's get together and make some change. Am I hearing you right?
Correct.
I love that. I love that, right? Typical for me in New York City with 8.5 million people. But, maybe your town may be a little bit easier. Then again, your social media works too. We're doing it now, right?
Exactly.
Social media works too.
A great opportunity to come together, whether it's over Google Meet or Facebook or Zoom. Right. Set a time with me. Tell me what you want to talk about. Let's talk about it. Let's talk through it.
I like that. So let me ask you, obviously you're running to win. Obviously you put your team together, you're raising money, you're getting stuff done. It's a serious campaign. I love to hear that. I love to see that. It's amazing. And I hope you win. It'd be amazing if you win. What if you don't? Do you have when I was in New York, I said all the time, it's very easy for me. If I lose the election, I still gain ballot access. So I had a very easy consolation prize. Do you have a secondary win if you don't actually win the election?
I think if I don't actually win the election, my secondary prize is getting to still live up here. I think that sometimes we forget we get to make the choice on where we live. Sure. We get to make the choice on what we do with our life. If I don't win, I still get to make the choice to live up here and make a change in my community. Maybe that means every single month after I don't win, I volunteer even more hours in my community, picking up trash, making a change, helping people who can no longer afford childcare. Maybe that's what I do. And maybe that's my secondary win.
So support, if you can't support the community via government, you support the community via community.
Exactly. Build a stronger community because community is going to outnumber government 100%.
God, it's not going that way, Hannah.
No, it will be. We just have to be strong enough to
it's going the opposite way. We got to turn it around. It's going to where everyone's working for government. Oh my God. So God, I hope you win. So yes, we really have to make that happen. I completely agree. I totally and absolutely agree. Yes, absolutely. So see, Push Liberty agrees. Yes. Yes,
and Push Liberty asked what position I'm running for and where. I'm running for county commissioner in Lake County, Colorado. So
there we go.
And very excited to be doing it.
And there's her Facebook page down at the bottom. So if you want some more information, head on over there. Head over to her Facebook page. Click on her new website. It's awesome and cool. Check her out. See what she's doing. And if you have some extra cash, particularly if you live in Colorado, throw some money. Every little bit counts. $5, $10, $20. That's Facebook ads. That's hand cards. That's all the kind of stuff she's going to need. That's door hangers, signs, whatever it is, banners she puts up someplace when she walks around. Any of those things, right? If you can give some cash, please do it. If you can't, she needs volunteers, Remember, your money matters, but your time and your energy matters even more, right? If you get out there and tell your friends and get on social media and can physically get out there at all possible, she needs all that stuff. So Hannah, before we wrap this up, anything else you want to bring up?
I just want to keep reminding people that you are in control of your own life. You get to make the choices every single day, and you get to have your voice heard. So if you don't like what something is going on in your area, make sure you're making it heard. Now's the time. So never be compliant, I guess I should say, or complacent. Neither one works. I like them. Don't do either. I'm with you. I like it. Great. Excellent. Hannah, thank you so much for coming. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you guys all here probably next week. I do this all the time, right? So all the time. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Larry.